Welcome to SVG-TV News for Monday, May 30th, 2016. I am Jennifer Richardson with the details. Hundreds of supporters of the Unity Labour Party, the ULP, gathered at the Camden Park Secondary School on Sunday, May 29th, 2016, to be a part of the party's 22nd National Convention, which was held under the theme, Continuing the Renewal. SVG-TV's Nikita Tony has more on the event in this report.
The second National Convention of the ruling Unity Labour Party ULP was held on Sunday, May 29, 2016 at the Bethel High School, the first convention since the party was re-elected in the December 9, 2015 general elections. Referring to the ULP as a natural party of governance, political leader and Prime Minister of SVG, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves, expressed his gratitude towards his family, the ULP team and the party supporters for a historic fourth term in office, noting that there is still more work to be done. In regards to the reaction of the opposition New Democratic Party NDP towards the ULP's victory, Dr. Gonsalves noted that it makes no sense paying attention to their efforts to disturb peace in the nation. He reiterated that the ULP has won the elections which were confirmed to be free and fair by all of its observers and reflected the will of the people.
This is one man who doesn't fear the elections. If anybody is under any illusions that I am interested in two by-elections, out of the mind, there is no way. On the basis of what we have seen in the last 4 general elections, there is absolutely no way that the NDP could defeat the Unity Labour Party.
The political leader, who will celebrate his 70th birthday this year, outlined that the topic of succession must be addressed. He stated that while he is still in good health, his commitment to have the party refreshed and renewed must be upkept. Dr. Gonsalves noted that he does in fact have faith in the next generation of leaders within the party.
One of them youngsters whom you select to succeed me, imagine the leading the party in 2020 in the elections, and I'm still around, God willing, to help. And you have whether it's Leacock or Friday coming up against our bright energetic youngsters, they will be completely swamped.
As the party prepares for a transition, Dr. Gonsalves urged all supporters and candidates alike to continue their work in the respective constituencies. He noted that there must be greater public awareness about ULP projects, plans and policies so as to generate more support towards the party of choice.
And more NDP people are coming to us because they finally realize that they made a mistake by going for the NDP. And I want you to be firm in defense of our friends and our allies, and I want you to be firm in defense of your party and its policies and programs because you're defending your own interests.
Reaffirming the party's commitment to the continued renewal and revitalization of its candidates, Dr. Ralph Gonsalves promises the country to foster a better connection and togetherness so that they can build this nation together. Reporting for SVG-TV News, I am Nikita Tony.
Meanwhile, Prime Minister Dr. Ralph Gonsalves says, contrary to some views, democracy is alive and well in SVG and urges persons to let the will of the people stand. Commenting at the party's national convention last Sunday on the recent protest actions by the New Democratic Party NDP supporters, Dr. Gonsalves for the first time made mention of the intention he had to have a rerun of the general elections, which he had slated for February 15, 2016. He noted that the rerun would have resulted in an even bigger victory for the ULP, with a predicted 11-4 win.
When I told the wider party leadership about it in early January, they told me that maybe the people are fatigued. You know, after a long campaign, sometimes you get tired. But I felt confident that we could have roused the people for another effort, and I intended to camp in East St. George, East Kingston, South Leeward and North Leeward, because they can't take any of the 8 which we have from us.
Outlining that he has no interest in by-elections, two of which will occur if the petitions carried to court by the NDP-L1, Dr. Gonsalves said he sees no sense in having any by-election and would rather have fresh elections called.
The judge has already indicated that when the application is made in open court to strike out these petitions, because they haven't filed them properly, that an application to strike out is bound to succeed. Any day, you could turn on the radio and you hear that I have secured the dissolution of Parliament by the Governor General. So they want election, I might give them what they want.
Stressing that he has no intentions of preventing the hearing of petitions as purported by the opposition, Dr. Gonsalves said he plays no part in the judicial process and noted that justice cannot be bought.
The law says if you're not satisfied with the results of the election, you can go and you can bring a petition. But you bring a petition, you make different applications, you don't like the ruling that the judge give, and you start to malign the judge on radio. The NDP start to malign the judge on radio, and then they start to say they must get another judge. Well, the law is what the law is, you know. It don't matter which judge you get, the law remains the same. You don't go for justice and judges shopping like they go in Middle Street shopping for frack. You don't shop for justice. You don't shop for judges.
Calling for a completion date for the Argyle International Airport, opposition leader Anim Eustace says Vincentians must be told when the air facility will be fully operational. Eustace, who was on his New Times radio program today, also questioned whether the airport is certified and what international airlines would be utilizing the facility.
The Prime Minister tell the public of St. Vincent and the Grenadines whether that has been done. And if so, when was it done? If we talk about opening of the airport soon, then I assume that one would have had the certification done. Otherwise, I don't see how it would be able to open.
Eustace also questioned whether there have been some recent repair work done on the underground section of the airstrip, which he alleges had water seepage.
So whether in fact certain sections of the runway had to be dug up more than once, and there's still a problem in that regard. About 100 meters. Because of swampy conditions on the runway. Has that been rectified? Or is that impacting on having the engineer sign off? I want to know the people of St. Vincent and the Grenadines, given the vast amount of money spent on this project, need to know what is happening. For 5 years, we are left to guess about the status of this airport. I see a lot read it now about the environmental conditions, the impact on lobster and tree and all these kind of things. Can the government clear the air?
The viability of having and operating hybrid or electric cars on a countrywide scale is being researched here. According to Dr. Alston Studdard of the Energy Unit, the information being researched will determine how cost-effective it will be for the government to facilitate hybrid or energy vehicles. He explained that this comes as part of the $1.7 million United Nations Development Program, the UNDP Global Environment Fund, to address issues of clean energy, particularly as it relates to transportation. According to Dr. Studdard, the project, which is called Providing Access to Clean Energy in SVG, will affect policy making and impact how revenue is spent.
So before we can get involved in those kind of decision making, we need to provide our people with very basic information. We need to provide the policymakers, the government, with information because at some point in time, people are going to expect the government to be supporting the initiative of maybe fiscal measures to allow them to buy these vehicles. But the government will not implement any fiscal measure unless they have information that would lead to how these measures would impact on taxes, how they would impact on revenues, and what are the other macroeconomic indicators and issues that will be critical to the country and to those who use these electric vehicles.
Renewable energy consultant Dr. Damian King says that from the information gathered from the consultation, he and his team will create a model to see whether hybrid cars could be a workable option here.
So today's consultation is really to gather information to fine-tune a model to look at the impact of electric mobility on the economy of St. Vincent and the Grenadines. So following from this, hopefully we should have information that can guide the government in terms of their policy direction as to whether to support electric vehicles or not to support electric vehicles, based on the results, of course. So this is why we're here this morning, really to get stakeholder feedback and to get data from the stakeholders for this purpose.
On Thursday, an electric vehicle roadshow will be held. The general public will have the opportunity to drive and understand the operation of electric vehicles. Also, the event will provide an opportunity for attendees to interact with electric vehicle suppliers and subject experts in the field of sustainable energy to gain understanding about how this technology can provide a cheaper and cleaner alternative to their transport needs. The roadshow will be held at the Heritage Square from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. this Thursday. This country today recorded its 15th homicide for the year thus far. The latest victim is 60-year-old farmer Kelson Lion Lane of Bronxtown, Georgetown. Nodisha Miller has more on his death in this report.
Of Bronxtown, Georgetown woke up to news that there was a homicide in their community. The victim, a beloved farmer, identified as Kelson Lion Lane. Lane, 60, was found in his home with his throat slashed along with several stab wounds about his body. Just outside the crime scene, we spoke to Lane's longtime friend, Errol Ross, who explains to us that he was making his routine visit to Lane's home and met his lifeless body covered in blood.
I call Lion. I say, Kelson. I no reply. Mr. Lane? No reply. I step up in the porch. When I step up in the porch, his door was on the ground. I said, like somebody pulled on the man door. So I stepped into the house. I see the man motionless on the bed. Head one side, the foot right on the ground. Watch out the while I see no movements. I said, like, you take it. So I see no movements. So I went in, they were closer. I got closer, I saw blood on the ground. After seeing blood at medical inspection, I see some wound on the chest and his throat being slashed. Came out from the house, I saw the guy there. I said, butcher! They knock out the lion.
The killing of the farmer has left relatives and friends puzzled, as some of them told us he was not one to be involved in conflicts, apart from an alleged land dispute with family members that is before the court. Though shaken up by his friend's death, Ross told us he feels a sense of gratitude to be the one to have found his body.
Lion is a man that's taking, I feel good that I could come and see my brother in on the ground. Because he have other brothers on the wake and go to Johnny and they say pass and look on the brother in.
Meantime, Police Inspector Atlan Brown, in charge of the major crime unit, said from early indication, Lane might have been killed in the wee hours of the morning, between 3 and 5 a.m. The inspector explains the victim was found lying on his back with about 13 stab wounds. He noted they plan to execute the investigation in a tactful manner.
It seems as though he had no real issues with persons in the community.
So where would this investigation lead you?
Well, we're going to broaden our scope and scope of the investigation. Look at different areas and hopefully we'll get some sort of success.
Our news team spoke to a number of persons in the Georgetown area, some of whom are relatives and friends of the deceased, and they shared with us their views on the death of Lane.
I feel sad because I know he not for such other people, and think I just come around and wait for him close to wash and give him and thing.
You were shocked this morning, right?
Shocked! For no lion has died. Miss, everybody around you know the lion. You go by lion you're cooking. Yeah, you want some? Sure. But me know who go and do that, you know.
A post-mortem examination is expected to be performed on Wayne's body this week. His death is the 15th homicide for the year thus far. Marisha Miller, The Evening News.
Joel Lewis, Ulrich Hansen and Jordan Ford from the Grenadine island of Mairo have been arrested and charged for 3 separate charges of robbery, malicious wounding and assault causing actual bodily harm at the Tobago Keys on May 25, 2016. The charges stem from an incident on the date in question when the trio reportedly went to the Keys, approached the yacht with Christopher Memon and his wife Sandra on board. It was during that time Lewis reportedly wrestled with Mr. Memon, resulting in him sustaining a fractured hand, while Hansen assaulted Memon's wife by slapping her in her face, causing injuries. The 3 men then reportedly proceeded to deprive Memon of EC $500 cash. The men were escorted to the Serious Offences Court this morning before Chief Magistrate Rayshon Brown and were not allowed to plea. Senior Prosecutor Delpesh strongly objected to their bail, stating that there have been a series of similar offences in the Union Island Police District and the police are still carrying out investigations. He said the accused are of interest to the investigators. As a result, they were remanded into custody for 7 days in the first instance, when their bail will be reviewed. In another matter, 26-year-old Carlos Delpesh of Chateaubelair is also before the court on a charge of robbery, which is said to have occurred at the Chumaka Public Road on May 25, 2016. Reports are that on the date in question, Pearlie Anthony was approached by Delpesh, who pushed her to the ground and pulled a bag from her containing approximately $1,000 and fled the scene. Delpesh was taken to the Serious Offences Court today and was not allowed to plead to the charge as it was laid indictably. Bail was also allowed in the sum of $3,000 by Chief Magistrate Rayshon Brown with 1 surety. He was also ordered to report to the Chateaubelair Police Station on Mondays and Fridays between 6 a.m. and 6 p.m. to surrender all travel documents to the court and also not to have any contact with the victim. September 9th, 2016 is the date set for the preliminary investigations. Minister of Fisheries Sabota Caesar says his ministry is working alongside the Ministry of Tourism to have a regular fish night in this country. Minister Caesar said he would like to see Vincentians having a constant fishing routine throughout the year rather than the limitation of the month of May, and that he already put persons in place to hold discussions with community members and fisherfolk to obtain an initial cost to prepare fish to host the regular fish nights.
We just want to have fish fries popping up here, there and everywhere, and it is not of a good quality. It has to be properly marketed. You have to have the transportation systems in place. You have to have the requisite security. So we want it, but we are in the process now of studying it, and I am very hopeful that during the course of this year we can see some implementation and possibly a launch of a regular fish night activity where the private sector will be collaborating with the government. So we will be providing the technical support, but of course it's a private sector initiative.
Minister Caesar says the fish nights will also seek to improve the nightlife in this country, as not everyone is interested in going to a club for leisure. The Fisheries Minister says the community of Barley can play a pivotal role in this regard, but the issue of sustainability will be closely looked at.
The issue of sustainability is one that we have to pursue, because when you have someone coming from Holland, enjoying a fish night in Barley, returning home, meeting their friends and saying the best fish I ever had was in Barley. When you go to St. Vincent and the Grenadines, please go down there on a Thursday night. They take a taxi from their hotel, travel down to Barley, only to realize that they're no longer having the fish night either on that night or it's no longer happening. So we have to ensure that persons will be planning their schedules around these things, and sustainability is going to be critical.
He said he expects the venture to be properly launched during the independent season and is expected to provide a boost to the tourism sector. Seeing the need for a wider range of medical equipment and supplies here, neuropsychologist from the United Kingdom, Dr. Steve Coates, on Friday handed over electroencephalograms (EEG) to the Better Health Clinic EEGs are used for diagnosing and treating epilepsy, which is a series of neurological brain diseases that can cause violent seizure attacks and even death. Dr. Coates stated that there are most likely many Vincentians who have epilepsy and are unaware of it.
I deal with EEGs, or the electroencephalogram, all the time. The EEG is a method of recording the brain waves from people, and we particularly use it to try and diagnose epilepsy. The country has over 100,000 people in it, and epilepsy occurs in about 1 person in 100, so you can imagine there are 1,000 people here with epilepsy. Some of them are undiagnosed. So we use this method of recording the electrical activities in the brain with an EEG to help diagnose epilepsy and then help to treat it. Okay, so what we're seeing here is this patient is having electrodes applied to the scalp in particular positions to record the brain waves. The positions that we use measure the points on the scalp where the brain lies just under that region in certain areas. What we're seeing here are this patient's brain waves coming directly from the electrodes on the scalp, and we're looking at the brain in 2 dimensions right across the top of the brain and across the sides of the brain, and in particular we're looking for types of waveforms that come from the brain which can indicate epilepsy.
Dr. Coates also described what an epileptic seizure can be like and urges persons to think they have epilepsy to get diagnosed so that they can receive the necessary treatment.
As epilepsy as it's imagined, with falling to the ground, person tenses like this, their eyes are usually half open, and then they start to shake like this quite violently, and they may turn blue, and then they are unconscious, and they can be unconscious for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, and half an hour, and then when they come round, they're groggy and they feel awful. That's usually an epileptic attack. There is another classic epileptic attack where children can appear to be blank, and that can only last for a few seconds to 30 seconds. There is also a very important thing in epilepsy called SUDEP, which is sudden death in epilepsy, and that can occur in about 1 in 1,000 people, where the person who has epilepsy can die for unknown reasons, usually in the night time. So it's very important that they get the correct treatment and they stay on the treatment, and unfortunately for a lot of people it is treatment for life.
Carnival Beat is coming right up. Welcome to Carnival Beat. As the North Leeward Carnival activities heightened Saturday night, May 28, 2016, witnessed the staging of the first ever Leeward Soca Monarch competition. We hear more on the event in this report by Nolisha Miller.
It was a night of energy and excitement in North Leeward as the Simple Songs family hosted its first Soca Monarch competition. The event saw 12 young artists from North Leeward and neighboring constituencies competing for the first ever North Leeward Soca Monarch 2016. Manager of Simple Songs family, Bishon Williams, said the aim of the competition is to expose the talents of the youngsters in the area.
To make the artists aware that there are different avenues by which you can market their music, as opposed to just depending on, as the artist would put it, one of the radio stations giving them a blight. Because we would have helped them market their music on our Facebook page and so on and so forth, and whenever Simple Songs play at certain events, because we know we're coming towards this event, we would have also used that as a platform to market the artist's music.
Williams, who is no stranger to promotional events, said that he was very much impressed with the attitude and interest in which the artists portrayed. He noted that they took it as serious as if it was a national Soca Monarch. He stated he hoped to see the event grow to a level where the CDC can play part in the interests of the artists.
I'm hoping that the show reached a certain standard and respect level that even the CDC can consider giving the winner of the show an automatic pass to the National Soca Monarch.
While Williams is hoping next year's event will see the addition of the Raga Soca Monarch segment, this year's event exceeded his expectations, apart from the inclement weather, which caused a late start. The North Leeward Soca Monarch title went to Daddy with Energy, second place Naphtali with Fencing Pole, third place Matt King with Pressure, fourth place Electric with Overheat, and fifth place Neppy with We Drinking It. The audience was well appreciative of the performances from all 12 competitors. Melisha Miller, Carnival Beats.